What's up guys, and I'm back with the final episode guys of What If Naruto Was an Uchiha Bastard. I just want to thank each and every one of you for sticking through till the end guys. It's been an amazing ride, but as you already know, new what ifs are coming up soon for you guys to enjoy. So this one going away, coming to an end, there will be a lot more. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of them coming your way, guys. I already posted a brand new episode of What If Naruto Was a Bastard with the Red Byakugan, so go ahead, check out that on Anime King 2. Link down in the description, so yeah guys. If you're not aware, yes, I indeed have 3 more channels that I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. All the links will be down in the description, so yeah. Without further ado or wasting more time, how about we jump into this final episode? Let's begin now guys. So, the last part that we left off, a massive battle was taking place all throughout Konoha. Danzo showing his true colors, because this was an attack that he could not come back from. This was an attack that he had to make and ensure that they win, otherwise all of them would be screwed. Naruto was trapped away by the Sound 4 inside of barrier. Inside was Orochimaru, there was Fukaku as well, and there was also Roshi from the Hidden Stone. There was a lot of people there. Along with the first and second Hokage, they came to kill. They saw Naruto as a greater enough threat than even Hiruzen Sarutobi. As a full-blown war took place on the village, even the Sky Ninjas were there. Ninjas that despised Konoha, that despised Naruto. Those that Naruto had butchered in the past. Tsunade Senju was giving out orders, as Jiraiya was moving around helping the people as well, defeating the massive snakes. Hiruzen took on Danzo. Danzo was quite aware that taking on Hiruzen was no simple matter. Of course not, and it would be really stupid and idiotic to fight him like that. So he tried to overwhelm him with his forces, not to mention the outside forces that were here to put an end to Hiruzen Sarutobi as well. So yes, there was a lot of problem around. Even Mito was facing off against Gaara, who was transformed into the One-Tails. A lot of war and bloodshed was taking place throughout the village. Inside of the massive structure, Naruto took on all of them as they ganged up on him. Knowing that he could not be distance away from any of them, knowing how deadly his techniques were, they pressed him using everything at their disposal. Watching from a distance was none other than the masked man. Naruto was using his ability to warp space around him, as he was using it to his advantage. Getting away from Fukaku Black Fire, getting away from the flames that came from Roshi. Yes, it was a massive battle, as Roshi transformed, releasing the massive 4-tailed beast. It descended upon Naruto, but Naruto's style was very powerful. Orochimaru, the first and second, who had immortal bodies, were using it at their disposal, as everyone was trying to take Naruto down. Meanwhile, Itachi was busy facing off against Kimimaro and Guren, as the both of them were trying to take him down as well. The village was being sieged. However, Naruto, wanting the younger generation to go on and do what is necessary, the younger generation to show that even with him or certain people no longer here, they can still fight. However, it seems that he still had some enemies that he needed to bury. Thus, Naruto's eyes activated. Yes, his eyes activated. The Rinnegan. But his Rinnegan was not your standard. His Mangekyou was not your standard to begin with. His Rinnegan was red. The entire place came to a stop in that moment, as Naruto's base bending ability had gotten so much more powerful. Having this at his disposal, but the mere opening of the eyes were problems. Naruto wiped Roshi out like he was absolutely nothing. He then turned his sights upon none other than Fukaku, but Fukaku was saved by the masked man, who got one hit from Naruto and almost died. The problem was, his body was intangible, so the fact that Naruto was able to touch him was frightening, as he quickly ran away with Fukaku, being very injured. Naruto turned his sights towards Orochimaru and proceeded to slaughter the man, but not only that, Naruto destroyed his soul, ensuring that he would never ever come back, leaving Orochimaru screaming and begging for him not to. Naruto then proceeded to take the beast away from Roshi. He also took away the Sound 4 as well, having other need for them. Making his way, Naruto also took Gaara and the siblings away, as he told Mito and his son Sasuke to get back to the village. However, Mito was not supposed to enter any other battle, as she was tired despite wanting to help. However, Naruto was going to go back down that path. He has already told Tsunade that he would ensure that, if his time does come, that even after his death, there would be no more war. Hiruzen Sarutobi was on his last leg, having faced off against all of the enemy and Danzo, and the poison as well. From Danzo's men, Hiruzen had slaughtered almost all of the root agents. Danzo tried to put Naruto within his seal to take him with him, but Naruto was easily able to stop the effects by warping space around himself, forcing Danzo to absorb his own self. Hiruzen told Naruto that he didn't have to go back down that path, as he could see the look in Naruto's eyes. But Naruto wasn't about to listen to the man, as he picked up a blade off the ground. While it might be useless in others' hand, but once again Naruto dived straight back down the path of the Hollow. Yes, the Hollow, after all these years, have finally been awakened once again, and the nations would feel it. So yeah guys, basically that's what I thought. You guys can switch across and please check it out for yourself, and also don't forget to go ahead and check out the other what ifs of the other channels. I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. So yeah, without further ado or wasting any more time, how about we begin this now guys? During the Third Great Shinobi War, he made a name for himself. They call him the Hollow, the man without anything on the inside, the ruthless, unstoppable, demonic force that cut down everyone and anything in his path. As the war came to an end, his name had grown so infamous that no one dared to step to him, knowing the repercussions of what would take place. He's made thousands of enemies as he slaughtered thousands of people. However, as the time passed by, he gradually became docile in most people's eyes. Many believing that he lost the strength that he once had. Many believing that his mind had strayed to a path of enlightenment. Many believing that he stopped killing just because he was now the leader of the Uchiha clan, that he changed his ways, that he was looking for a better future. However, as a sleeping beast lie, they had to go and wake him up. The moment those eyes awaken, the moment his eyes truly open up to the world, the moment the Hollow re-emerged, every person within the vicinity felt it, and thus there was no escape, there was no running, there was no living. Hundreds upon hundreds, going into the thousands of ninjas, tried to flee for their life. However, the trees around them, the environment seemed to react. Thousands of wooden spikes, thousands of trees ripping out of the earth, swallowing them whole. It doesn't matter who they were. All that stepped foot in Konoha as enemies did not live to tell the tale. They were slaughtered. They were massacred where they stood. That simple blade that was weak in many other hands had become a death sentence in his. He descended into the heart of the chaos. He butchered, he sliced, he ripped, he tore. Bodies were dropping. Thousands begged for their life, but all they got in return was destruction. As the massive fleet of shinobis rained down as they tried to help and assist their comrades from the land of sky, they were all stopped when they heard a massive explosion. Looking back towards a flying city, it was being ripped apart. The metal was caving in. Screams could be heard all over. The leader of this little group that resurfaced found himself falling from the heavens. There was no life left in him as he smashed into the ground. The remaining shinobis believing that just because they were in mid-air, they would get away. When they felt the space around them distort, when they felt their bodies literally being pulled from the heavens, one by one, they were butchered. They were slaughtered in the most inhumane way as they cried and begged for surrender, as they raised their weapons in forgiveness, giving up to be placed in a secure prison. Only thing they found was death as they were greeted by the eyes of the hollow. The younger generation who were not there, or those who were there but failed to truly see what had happened during the war, was getting an insight, was getting a glimpse of how ruthless the head of the Uchiha clan could be. For every Konoha citizen that lost their life on that day, it was returned tenfold, as not a single individual after Naruto left that dome that attacked Konoha escaped. They were slaughtered. Time skip. There was a mass funeral for those who lost their life during the chaos. Hiruzen Sarutobi was amongst that list. Even a few Uchihas fell, courtesy of Danzo and his people. Every single root ninjas that sided with Danzo, which was all, have been eviscerated. There was not a single one of them left alive. The village was free of anyone that had attacked it that day. Sand ninjas, sound ninjas, everyone from the outside that hated Naruto or the Uchiha clan, or had a grudge against the village that attacked. The land of sky was gone. This time there was no survivors. Orochimaru was dead. The Jinchuriki from the stone was taken. The One Tails was taken, as were the rest of the Kazekage children. At the moment, Konoha has not released a single word on what they will do next. The Sand, who was tricked into doing something rather stupid, lost their primary weapon and lost the ear of the Kazekage. And at the moment they had no leg to stand on, no words to be given to the opposing force, which has not even tried to consolidate a meeting or even bother to give them anything regarding the survival rate of those children. And not to mention with word reaching back to Oniki, not a single word has been sent towards him, not a single letter, nothing at all. Oniki had not sent Roshi there to partake in this battle. It was due to the man's own anger by losing his family. That is why he came after Naruto, and thus, it didn't seem like the Jinchuriki, well, the tail beast will be brought back, because nothing has been sent out as Konoha. Later rests the ones that they lost. Time skip. The masked man. Now with a new mask, the color was much more bleak than the other one. Due to Naruto shattering it, he found himself within the land of rain. As he stood, the rain came pouring from the heavens, but his gaze was focused down below. Someone emerged behind him as they came to a stop there. The attack on Konoha was unsuccessful, the masked man said. By now though, everyone was aware of that. News traveled fast within the elemental nation. Emerging from the shadows was a spiky orange-haired individual with very powerful set of eyes. They were the Rinnegan, but they differ from Naruto. They were the standard that was only wielded by one other. So far, that is. As the man stood there, this person in front of him that goes by the name Toby, who said that he doesn't have an identity, had came to him some time ago after he had lost his bestest friend. Their goals coexisted together. There wasn't much information on the one known as Toby, but allowing him to achieve what he desired for this world, even after everything that took place. The man that stood there known as Pain would do whatever it takes, despite the lack of information. However, the way the man carried himself, there were certain information leading to him being Madara Uchiha. But there were certain points that did not make sense. Thus, Madara grandson being their main opposition. Then again, he wouldn't want to join their forces. And also, given his weakened state, Madara wouldn't want to reveal that he was still alive. So yes, there was still some questionary part about his whole identity. However, hearing the words that came from Toby's mouth, hearing how powerful this Naruto Uchiha truly was, and the eyes that were at his disposal, they all realized one thing right there and then. Now that the 4 and 1 tails was taken and the 9 tails was under his protection, turning to face him as a thunder and lightning crash behind him. We will need the full force of the Akatsuki to kill Naruto Uchiha. He's the last one standing in our way. The Akatsuki had a goal, more than one for 2 different individuals. However, the one known as Pain had a goal that might seem rather crazy for what he believed in. However, even after Naruto Uchiha brought the world to its knees by putting the fear of Kami into each and every single one of them, the fear was slowly dissipating, and the taste of war was coming once again. Prime example, even after everything, Konoha just lost so many, while not truly caring that much about those people, given his own background and past with Konoha. The hate would never truly stop until he made it stop. Naruto Uchiha, he tried but he failed, and now he was standing in the way of true peace. Thus, he will be taken out in order for him to truly make the world as he saw it better. Thus, the Akatsuki would go after and eliminate Naruto Uchiha. Back at the village, the moment he stepped within the office, she knew why he was here. The look on his face, he lost people during the attack. People from his own clan. A lot of people in the village lost their life. The attack had came and reigned over due to the ninjas from the Sky Village. Prime example of why Naruto reduced their entire floating island to mince meat and butcher them in the most violent way possible. Thus, she knew why he was here. She could see the look in his eyes, that emptiness. People were afraid, even people within his own vicinity. His actions was already putting the world on edge. Many saying that name once again, the Hollow, the name that has gone quiet for such a long time now, but once again being whispered. Soon enough, Konoha would have to make a move. Negligence would be played on both village parts that being the stone and the sand as well. However, given that he was here with that look on his face, Tsunade could see that he already had something that he would like to discuss with her. He sat down there as she waited to hear what he had to say. "You know why I'm here," said Naruto. "Free me," he said to her. She understood what his words meant. However, she was worried about what would follow. "I know that you're concerned," said Naruto. "However, you more than anyone else know the deep-rooted of the secrets that follow me. I have captured members of every single coalition that joined this force to bring down Konoha, and I was able to get every single information that leads back to their home brewing or where their bases are set. And this is far from over. It doesn't matter how much they lose. They will continue to waste and waste until we are left in the dust. Free me and allow me to root out the problem once and for all. The events of what I've done in the past, I told you that they would come back. Others are more wise to understand the situation, like Kiri and the stone, and Kumo as well. They did not make a move against us, while their people did make a move. The Tishikage have no idea what exactly is going on. The Raikage has nothing to do or associate with this. Kiri is under new management and is trying to make a turnover. However, there are countless others that are in their nests right now, trying to rebuild, grow their strength once again. And they will attack Konoha once again. You've seen it with your own eyes, Naruto said. Children, innocent people, died. A lot of them. However, there are still multiple others here. Give me the freedom to save them. To save everyone here. By removing the problem from the root. Naruto said. Tsunade's mind was working and moving a lot, thinking about what he was saying. In the past, Konoha would not hesitate to stand for such disrespect, for others to step on their soil and attack them in their home. So yes, as she looked upon Naruto and hearing what he had to say. Before this conversation, they had a private meeting about certain things that Naruto found out. Jiraiya had been involved in that meeting, but still Tsunade and Shizune was the only one that knew everything about Naruto. The others were still in the dust. However, several things were brought up. Several things that needed to be taken care of, as certain people's life was on the line, such as Mito as well. Thus, Tsunade decided to handle this, as she was not going to be seen as the one to back down after their village was invaded and attacked, even by some of their own. It's time that they rooted out the problem and got rid of every single one of them. Thus, it started. Time skip. At the land of stone. News had reached them a long time ago, fully aware of what was going on. However, what they did not expect was for him to arrive on his own. Oniki was floating in mid-air. Behind him was a volley of stone ninjas. More in the shadows. More waiting. One man, and one man alone could be seen, walking towards the group, having stepped foot within their region, without an ounce of fear. No one dared attack him though, because he wasn't attacking them, as they feared to start something that they could not possibly finish. Word was already sent to them about his arrival, a show of strength perhaps. He was without any guards, without any backup. Just like in the past, he was just older and much more stronger. Oniki floated down. Both men were not directly together, but the distance between them was enough. However, Naruto did not seem to be satisfied with that. He stepped closer. The army that stood behind him Due to their work on keeping a very close distance, and them also not trying to be provoking, they did not show themselves as an army, but they were there to fight and defend just in case. Konoha was quiet, and that was a problem. And this man was known to do things that would be horrifying, but Oniki did not back down. Standing there right in front of the man, Naruto looking directly in the eyes. Your Jinjuliki, Roshi, attacked my village and came after me. His desire was to bury me, said Naruto. Might I presume that you were the one that sent him to kill me? Oniki narrowed his gaze. That is the furthest thing away from your mind right now. Otherwise, you wouldn't have walked in here by yourself and started to talk, Oniki said. Tell me, boy, why are you truly here? He tried to stand firm despite knowing the gap between the both of them. The gap was blatant and has been shown on multiple occasions despite these two never truly meeting on the battlefield. Given the attire that Naruto was dressed in, it was a uniform that he wore back in the days. Created to be much better now, stronger. It seems my actions have become predictable, said Naruto. As he turned his gaze, Oniki was able to see the shift in Naruto's eyes as he was looking at the glorious red Rinnegan. The power that came from the eyes opening in front of him was something that was trembling down his very soul. Just the mere look from them was frightening. The next moment, the massive four tails was brought out of a weird space and dimension rift. It was like space itself was bending and twisting. And the four tails was brought there. The beast was sleeping. It will remain unconscious for 24 hours. I believe that is enough time for you to find a suitable new host, given that the other one is dead, said Naruto. He turned his back to Oniki. A very stupid thing to do, but yet he did it. I know that you weren't behind this attack, because just like many others, you have seen the true depths of war and seen how much can be truly lost, and understand the repercussion if another war was to break out. The Hidden Stone had not fully yet recovered from what had happened. After all, 2,000 of their people were massacred in a day, and many more beyond and further of that. So yes, despite the amount of time that has passed, there was still a lot to make up for. As Naruto spoke, Oniki understood every sense of the word that he was trying to say. Despite Naruto giving them back their tail beasts, looked like a sign of weakness on Konoha's part, it was far from it. Because in that time, Oniki knew that not in his lifetime would he ever pose an attack against a hidden leaf, just because of Naruto's actions. As he spoke about being confined away, and despite being in the center of their home, Konoha was able to repel every single force that attacked them, and them willingly giving back their tail beasts was another sign of strength, that they did not need to take their power. As Naruto left the area, just as he came, not a single person making a move against him. Oniki calling in their experts immediately. They had 24 hours to do what they needed to do. As the following days passed by, this time Naruto wasn't alone, tasked with a group of Uchihas and a few others that specialized from the village. In the span of about 5 days, hundreds of people were rooted out, and their deaths were brutal. Entire civilizations that comprised of those that were coming together as a group, as a unit, to bring down those that brought them pain in the past, were massacred. They were burned, they were buried, they were crushed. The one to carry out all of these heinous acts were none other than the Hollow. As rumors surged about the Hollow being back once again, as rumors skyrocketed about the actions that the Hollow took, many started to run away in fear, but each and every one of them were found. The entire civilization of the Land of Sound was wiped away in less than a day. The Land of Sound was a place comprised of underground system tunnels, and everyone was massacred. They were butchered and slaughtered. The entire nations were holding their breath as they weren't able to witness such heinous acts since the Third Great Shinobi War, and to live to see it once again. And those that put up a foot, those that put up a fight, this time their spirit would never recover. He rooted them out from the youngest one to the oldest one. He erased entire family bloodlines. He wiped out majority of Orochimaru bases, massacring and slaughtering all that stood in his way. His name once again, the infamous fear that he had and gripped the heart of the people, once again reared its head, and many were terrified to even look Konoha way. However, the support from their ally and their daimyo seemed to be getting much stronger. Those that posed a threat, those that came after their people due to this stupid attack that they believed that they would win, were all wiped out. Villages that had sided with Orochimaru to gain more foothold on Naruto allies were crushed with a step. The massive towering Susanoo stepped on them and crushed them as they stood. People were being wiped out from left to right. After another disaster, as Naruto stood in the depths of destruction, rising out of the ground was Zetsu, a creature that has roamed this earth for a very long time. Zetsu gave Naruto a date on when it would happen. Naruto did not even look towards the creature as he made his way. Time skip. At Konoha, due to his rather dangerous activities that were spreading rumors, the people around him were glad about him defending them, but some of the younger generation was terrified. As much as Mito tried to steel herself, tried to make herself strong to know that he was doing this for them, to keep them safe, she heard things, frightening, deadly things that scared her. However, at the moment, Naruto sat with his son. As Sasuke was seated in front of him, they were having a conversation about the future. The reason why Zetsu was so easily able to meet with Naruto was simple. Naruto knew that the Akatsuki was linked to the masked man. He knew that all of them were linked because of Zetsu. Naruto knew that the creature was watching him. What him and Tsunade and Jiraiya had spoke about was the organization, about their existence, and what they intended to do, what they desire, what their goal was. They were going after the tailed beasts. Confirmation rumors that Jiraiya got, and Naruto being in the possession of one of the strongest who was under his protection, that being none other than Mito Uzumaki. It was someone that they desired. Naruto has been leaving behind evidence for Zetsu to find, and the creature finally reared its head after a week of waiting. It was White Zetsu, of course, one of the ones that could be disposed. However, the information was brought back. The leader of the organization, Pain, found this rather intriguing, wanting them to pick the time and place to settle this once and for all. They knew the power that he wielded. He knew how dangerous they were. He was calling them out to show that he did not fear a single one of them. This meant several things. The winner would go the spoil because, without Naruto, If the organization was to attack Konoha, there was a good chance that the village would fall. Due to the power at their disposal, there were several people, well, one in particular that had the power for army, and the other members would prove to be a dangerous combination. And due to the way that they were going to go about it, by weakening the village first, and Mito wasn't able to properly protect herself just yet. Therefore, there was a high chance that she would be taken. So Naruto was calling them out to finish this once and for all, and they took it. He wasn't a person that would go beyond his words. He was going to take them on by himself. However, Itachi was furious about hearing that. For the first time, he raised his voice, wondering if his father had a suicide pact or something. Why would he deliberately walk into a group of S-rank ninjas, not truly knowing the leader that was behind this group? If anyone was able to control a group of nothing but S-rank, their power must be beyond. And yet he was willingly going to face all of them by himself. And Sasuke did not want to hear that. As much as he did not want his father to be doing what he was doing, he knew that he could not stop him, and he knew why he was doing it. But deliberately walking into a group of S-ranks that would only get him killed. Have you have that little faith in me? Those simple words stopped Sasuke in his rant as he gazed at his father, who was one of the most powerful person that he knew, and the strongest in the entire world. And yet, hearing what his father was going to walk into caused him to think otherwise, as he gazed at the man in front of him that has mowed down and destroyed anyone that has come up against them. And these threats, as Naruto explained it, was going to come here and come after them. However, he has a chance of wiping them all out by himself to ensure that no more life is lost. However, Itachi still couldn't help but think about the possibilities. For someone to be leading an entire group of S-rank ninja, their power must be on a different level. The only other persons that was aware of the truth that he was able to confide in. However, neither of them took it lightly, as Sasuke spoke to the two people that were also there from day one for him. The first one that Naruto had spoken to was his son. The fact that they were talking about the future and about the clan going on got Sasuke rather worried. That is why, as we find Naruto in front of Tsunade, he asked her the question, "Are you going to physically restrain me?" he said. "You think I can't?" she said to him. Over the past couple of weeks, she's allowed Naruto to make sure that their enemies are finally destroyed. And in doing so, he wiped away every single remnant of those that would ever take a step against Konoha. There were ninjas from the stone that had been scouting out nearby, but all of them had returned home. The simple action of handing over the tail beast back to the village, it might seem small, but it was one of the largest actions that Konoha could take in that situation. As everyone was quite aware of the situation now, Oniki would not make a move against Konoha, not at all, due to the fact that Naruto was isolated as well, showing that the village might was greater than ever, even without Naruto there. That they will always come out on top, because each time they fought, they always came out victorious. Even when the enemy was in the heart of the village, they still won. And just like that, Naruto did what he needed to. The main purpose of why he did not go all in at first and try to kill Orochimaru and the others, he wanted to give them a chance to show that the younger generation will always prosper no matter what. So as he stood in front of Tsunade, who was quite upset to hear what he wanted to do. However, as Naruto started to explain, to let her truly understand, The one that attacked the village all those years ago with the 9 tails was not. It was not Fukaku. No, it was that man. The one with the mask. Naruto could see it all now. He's the mastermind behind all of this. However, Naruto did not believe that he was leading the organization. He had someone working for him. Someone very powerful. But he was a true mastermind, and he was a Uchiha. Naruto felt it only right, being the leaders of the Uchiha, to exterminate anything that has to do with a name that would bring misfortune. Not to mention, their target was Mito. And if that group was to gain all the power of the 9 tails against the tail beasts out there, Naruto was confident in his power. But for someone or something special to harness the power of each and every one of the tail beasts, he wasn't sure the result of what that would be. And he was sure that his people, his family, his friends, his village will be targeted by this group. And they had no idea when they would strike. Naruto had given all of them a prime example of what he was capable of. Therefore, he had no doubt in his mind that they would hit him with everything they got. He wasn't an idiot. He wasn't about to walk into a trap. He was going to make sure that he faced all of them though, and he was going to exterminate them all. Tsunade was fearful given the conversation that they had previously had before the Chunin exams and the whole attack on the village, with him speaking about his mortality, saying that he wasn't invincible. However, as she sat there with him for the next hour as they spoke about what has to be done, sending anyone else with Naruto would simply slow him down because he would have to restrict his power. Without anyone around for him to worry about, he could go all out. He could truly fight at his fullest. He could dominate. So as much as she hated the fact that he was going to do this, however, he was doing this for them, to ensure that he wiped out his generation and those that would befall the younger generation, something that they're not ready for. They might be strong, but they're not strong enough just yet. She looked at him without a single word, looking at the man that he has become, remembering the child that he once was, remembering that day when she left the village, seeing the man that he's now become, ready to fight and die for his village. However, throughout their whole conversation, he did not mention losing once, making her confident in him, stable as ever. Time skip. Mito was summoned by him. As she was making her way, she and some of the younger members were a bit afraid. They knew that they shouldn't be because he wasn't going to hurt them, but they've heard some things. Some were perhaps being taken out of context. As she found herself entering the room, as she looked at the man that has been there for her, making sure that she was safe and protected. The more she grew, the more she learned, given his closeness with her family. Jiraiya had told her a lot. So as she came inside, she sat down there. Naruto gazed up towards the young girl. His features softened. She hadn't seen him smile that much. She rarely saw him smile. Especially fully smile towards her, not just a smirk, a full smile. He started to compliment everything that she's done so far, which caused her to worry. She wanted to know if something was wrong, if there was some kind of problem, but there wasn't any. He just wanted to talk to her. She has a lot of gaps about the past, about her parents, not being there and not truly knowing them. Naruto told her stories on that night, stories that she never knew, stories about her mother and her father. As Mito did not pay much attention to anything else, She found herself laughing and smiling as she heard about her parents even more, happy to know what she can. Upon leaving after some time, not even quite sure how long she was there, something was different. Strangely enough, there did not seem to be anything wrong, but this was one of the first time that they ever had a conversation like this, other than the first time when he told her everything. But that was different. This one was humorful and soft and content. It was strange, but a good strange. Time skip. Naruto was seated on top of the monument. One might think that Naruto was worried about the future that would come, but he was not. Naruto did not truly care who they were. It doesn't matter if there were 6 or 7 or 8 S ranks. Naruto's power had reached a level that he was sure he would come out on top, even if their power was great. Over the years, despite not fighting, Naruto's strength had grown. He still trained. He created new techniques. He has done thousands of things in the past couple of years. What was wrong was him. In the past, when Mikoto had shattered his heart, Naruto became emotionless. He became empty. He didn't care for anyone or anything. He just started to kill and slaughter. There was nothing else to do. He was a demon, a monster, an abomination, a being without a purpose, a being without a soul. However, over the years, Naruto watched Mito grow. He watched his son grow. People around him, younger members of the clan, Shisui and several others. He watched his uncle turn into a wonderful young woman. He found himself being happy with the life that he had. Just as he told Tsunade, marriage was not in the future for him. While he's been with other girls, it was nothing permanent. It was just pleasure, nothing bonding. He believed that everyone has a person, and the person that he has, well, she died, and there were certain things that he could do about that, but he had a code. Once one died, Naruto did not believe their essence should be tampered with. He was pissed off when Orochimaru did what he did. That is why he destroyed the Sannin soul. Especially for good people. They were in a better world, a bliss, a peaceful land. Tampering and messing with their soul after that was just inhuman. He already knew where he was going to go after the atrocities that he's committed. So there was no change in that, and he's accepted that a long time ago. So of course he was not afraid of death. What he was afraid of was these emotions. Being the hollow back then was that, empty and without emotions, but as he tried to dive back into that, as he mold down and butcher those that stand against him, those that had anything to do with them, those that perhaps did not deserve his wrath, he started to feel emotions. Emotions that he never usually felt. He started to feel pain for those. He still did what he had to do. That is why, when he was accompanied on his search, not a single other participate in the massacre that committed by him. He wanted to be the one to bear the burden, but this time around the burden had truly been great. Perhaps his heart had softened more than he originally thought. He found himself feeling pain, emotional pain, sleepless nights. That is why he sat with Mito. He watched the girl turn into a wonderful young woman. He watched her grow into a splendid woman, right in front of his eyes. He had simply wanted to talk about the days in the past, when things were much more simple, before he was a leader. Allowing her to know more about her parents, about their quirks and their personalities, seemed to have helped her a lot as well. and he told her that he believed in her more than anything else. The stone is not a problem anymore. Kiri would not make a move due to their new leadership, and after he defeated the Raikage respected him. Despite him defeating him, the Raikage respected him. The San, their position was different. Snavi had believed that they were truly tricked into this, so the siblings were handed over to them. However, the San would never make a move once again because even after their betrayal, Konoha still forgave them, and thus, despite not being allies together, the world would never go to war. The only thing that was left was to clear away those that would try to spark and ignite war once again. And Naruto had all of them in his sight. He was going to erase each and every one of them. After that, he wasn't so sure what was going to happen, what role he would take, what he would do with his life. Perhaps it was time that he gave up fighting, because these emotions are becoming too much. Thinking about what happened caused him to think about the past, when he set people ablaze, innocents, when he butchered families, children. It started to tamper with his psyche. And he couldn't go on like this forever. Mentally, that is. That is why there has to be some sort of change. As Naruto got to his feet and gazed out towards the beautiful night sky with a calm smile on his face, time skip. Seated by himself was none other than Fukaku Uchiha. Fukaku looked empty. Not angry, not depressed, but empty. Like there was nothing left for him. As he was just seated there, looking at absolutely nothing. After his humiliating defeat, where Tobi had to step in and save him. Orochimaru, Roshi, the first and the second Hokage, and himself, they all attack him with everything they had at their disposal, and yet they fail. They fail so miserably. As he was seated there, rage, unlike any other, had died out after a while. All he felt was empty. His goal, his dream, his desire to best Naruto seemed to be impossible, seemed to be unobtainable. And now, he's hearing that Naruto was willingly going to take them on, aware of the organization, aware of their group, and he was going to take them on. From the fight that was happening, Zetsu had observed everything. Every member of the organization was being filled in on what exactly was going to take place, how his power was set, and the members had to be prepared. They had to be ready to fight the monster that was Naruto Uchiha, because he was the one that was standing in their way. He was a main threat right now, and they had the chance to kill him. However, as Fukaku sat there, he felt hopeless, useless. What if Naruto massacred the other members? What if his power had grown so much that none of them could compare, despite the title of S rank, despite the so-called leader of the organization that he was told about, who possessed the miracle eyes? However, Naruto also possessed eyes like those as well. He knew that Naruto was not going to bring anyone. He was going to deliberately walk into a battle, knowing that he's outmatched, outgunned by so many, because he did not fear them, because he had so much confidence in his power. Why must he always be the second fiddle? Why must he always be above him? Fukaku was just tired of it all. After everything that he's been through, all he wanted was just to humiliate him in the beginning, and then to make him pay. And now, it seems like all of that was out of his reach. As everyone was preparing to take down the greatest threat that might stand in their way, he was left with absolutely nothing. Time skip. They would not listen. After all, it wouldn't be so easy for him to be walking into something so dangerous. Thus, as Naruto was making his way, the Sannin Jiraiya was right by his side. Having been told everything by Snetty, he was there to make sure if things got out of hand, his intervention would be needed. However, he more than most knew that Naruto would be heavily restricted if it came down to a battle with him being there. So Jiraiya promised to allow him space for him to do as he pleased, but if things got too dangerous, he would intervene. As far as Jiraiya could see, Naruto did not seem to have a death sentence. He was simply doing what was necessary to protect his family, to protect the people that he cared about. Jiraiya also had a vested interest in this as well, so he tagged along as they found themselves at a location between the land of fire and between the land of wind. There was a half-desert area that went for a couple of miles, spanned into a vast distance. There was no one that lived in these areas. There was nothing that would be harmed by a battle of epic proportion going on right here and now. The Sannin had stayed back, stayed where he was, but Jiraiya was ready just in case. Both of his hands were clasped together as he was about to summon Ma and Pa to help him with Sage Mode. He watched as Naruto made his way down, making his way down towards the open empty area, dressed in his battle armor, ready for war. Moments before that, the Akatsuki members were gathered. The leader was standing there in front of them. As he was speaking to each and every one of them, you had the famous Kisame, the tailless-tailed beast, along with his partner, a girl known as Reina. Reina hailed from Kumo. She was a very special individual, possessing white hair and grey eyes. Reina had limiter seals placed on her body due to her specialized chakra. She was blessed with a lightning affinity that was greater than most. So much so that, without the seals in proper precaution, she tended to overexert a lot and damage the things around her. It wasn't a good thing, but it wasn't a bad thing when it came to fighting. Her power was great enough for the Akatsuki to bring her on their side. Using this lightning affinity, she was able to strengthen herself to unbelievable heights, speed and strength, stimulate her insides with pure, raw electricity. When all of her seals were removed, she became a walking beam of destruction with an erratic, spasming lightning shock like a bolt from the heavens. Reina was a very promising kunoichi back in the past. However, feelings got in the way. It was with the current Raikage father. He hated the fact that she started to turn to a life of, well, soft, precious, due to the one that she fell for. He wanted to keep her on the battlefield. There was a lot of war going on those times, a lot of chaos and a lot of death going on. And he wanted her to be in the game, not out of it because she fell for someone. This person was not even from their village. He was a man that came with a caravan that she usually buy fruits from that she fell in love with. So he planned for the man to be assassinated. The problem was Reina found out, and when she did, she lost it. She was able to kill many before she left, marking her as an enemy of the village. However, this wasn't her fault. She wasn't given the right, and even if she was, they tried to take said right away from her, that they had no obligation or grounds for. So that is why she hated her village. She hated the ninja villages. She hated the war and chaos that was going on. And the Akatsuki wanting to put a stop to that forever, because even as the world was at standstill right now, she watched multiple people still getting taken advantage of. While the world might fear Naruto Uchiha, Konoha was not the world. There were countless other villages out there, and he was not helping them at all. However, He never claimed that he cared about them. Why should he? He was a Konoha individual. Therefore, she was here to take him down so the Akatsuki could get what they wanted, in order for them to bring peace to the world, once and for all. The other members were Hidan and Kakazu, the immortal duo, two pairs of so-called immortals. And they were Sasori and Deidara. Deidara was well aware of who Naruto Uchiha was, a usual confident man. However, he feared the implications that Naruto Uchiha was coming here without backup, to show that his power was that much, to show that he had that much faith to not fear each and every one of them, despite their title being the S rank. Thus, as they saw him approach, Zetsu informing them. Each member stood where they were. Behind them was the leader, spiky orange hair and piercings. Meanwhile, far within the bushes over to the other side, there was a massive tree. Inside of that tree was a red-haired man, his skin looking rather pale. Beside him was a woman, blue hair. Her name was Konoha and his was Nagato. When Nagato was told about what Zetsu had came across, he at first believed that it was a trap, of course. However, he told Zetsu to gather as much information as possible. But Zetsu did something more. He went to speak with him. Thus, Nagato believed that he was simply trying to get the Akatsuki to be wiped out. However, after thoroughly checking the area for miles upon miles, the only one that was here was Jiraiya. And Jiraiya had stopped a long distance off, and he did not seem to be intervening anytime soon. Thus, the Akatsuki arrived on the scene with the one goal in mind: to put an end to Naruto Uchiha once and for all, understanding the depths of the powers that he possessed. This wasn't a joking manner. This wasn't someone that they could simply allow to take it easy on. Not at all. In the shadows of the tree, behind Konoha was 5 other figures. The 6 Paths of Pain, with the leader of the small group Tendo outside. The members split apart. Descending into the heavens along with Sasori was none other than Deidara. He looked down with a smile on his face. "Just sit back and watch, Sasori, my man," he said. "I'm about to finish this with one shot and give you all a sight of beautiful glowing art." Bringing his hand up, everything had already been set. His clay figurines had already made their way underneath the earth. And now, he brought his hand up. Guts! An explosion ringed through the entire place. Jiraiya almost falling off the tree branch, his hands still locked together, as the entire area with Naruto was consumed in a blinding, overwhelming blast. In that moment, a spiral ripped open in space, a distance away. Emerging was none other than Fukaku. The masked man was a step behind him as the both of them stood there observing the scene below them. This fight was a monumental fight that would decide the fate of how things go in this world. To believe that one individual alone would hold everything together and make the Akatsuki worry about their next move. Well, he was Naruto Uchiha after all. Deidara was smirking, believing that his blast had ended everything. Unfortunately, though, as the dust and smoke cleared away, Naruto had not moved from his spot. The only thing that had changed was his eyes. From the normal Sharingan into the Mangekyo. He was perfectly fine. The radius around him was completely untouched. Space had been distorted, avoiding the blast from consuming him. Deidara rained more bombs down towards Naruto. Spiders, all kind of insects. They tried to drop on Naruto, but their bodies were ripped and torn before he could set them off. The space around them crushing them into minced clay. Jumping from where he was, Kisame landed and slammed his hand into the earth, releasing an explosion of water that consumed the area. As Naruto now stood on water, Reina leaped from where she was. She placed both hands on the water as a violent electrical surge went towards where Naruto was. Deep underneath the surface, Deidara set off another explosion, forcing Naruto to jump upwards, forcing the electrified water to wrap around him, knowing that he had to move due to the water as well, now that he was trapped within the center. Flying out of the sky was a strange, black creature made from threads, releasing an electrified blast, along with a violent bubble of water that shoots like a storm from the heaven. Naruto was trapped dead in the center, being hit from all sides. A sizable shockwave of electrified water exploded outwards, with him right in the center, as that seemed to have gotten him. However, Fukaku didn't have such hopes that it had indeed landed on him. When the dust and smoke cleared, Naruto was nowhere to be seen. However, Reina and Kisame felt it, the disturbance in the water near them. Naruto stood behind the two. They were perplexed by the speed of how he got behind them. Naruto stood there. In his hand was his blade, his original blade that he used during the war. The red hilt, the black marking, crafted for him by his former sensei Orochimaru. The blade was unsheathed. The sound of it sliding out actually unnerved them a bit. However, Reina spun around, her heel blazing through the sky to take his head off. Naruto weaved under her kick though, only for Kisame to swing Samehata upwards. The sword seemed like it was going to shave Naruto's entire face off, but Naruto blocked it with his own, showing a shocking amount of strength, given that Kisame had the leverage. Reina twisted and brought her hand down on top of his skull, but Naruto lashed out his left arm and grabbed her. Thus he moved, taking her off the ground as he spun, throwing her away. She immediately fixed herself in mid-air and launched a bolt of lightning directly towards him. Naruto brought his blade up and sliced it, as it was coated in wind energy. Kisame sent Samehata within Naruto's side, forcing Naruto to flip within mid-air. As it stole away the energy off the blade, Kisame leaped forward with a grin, swinging Samehata as the ground exploded. All the water had been blown away. The both of them clashed, blade against blade, Samehata devouring the chakra from each impact. Something was wrong though. Why was he willingly allowing this to happen? Kisame weighed his thoughts as Naruto jumped away. As the both of them landed, Reina making her way, Kisame voiced his thoughts. I thought you were supposed to be better than this. I came here expecting a better challenge. I have to say though, I'm quite disappointed. I thought this would be more fun. Naruto finally looked towards the man, having not even looked at him during the battle. His gaze had not fully met Kisame once. That's a nice blade that you have there, he said. Too bad. Too bad, what Kisame said. The moment he said that, he felt it. Confusion crossed his vision as Samehata started to writhe and twist in agony. Kisame snapped his gaze up. What have you done? He said. He took his eyes off Naruto as Reina blinked. She was confused. This is not possible, she thought to herself. Even watching from a distance, cursing that he should be joining in. However, they had already talked about a formulating plan. Hidan was cursing with Kakazu. Kakazu's gaze though was focused on the individual down below. What is that? He said to himself. Wait, how the hell did he reach? But it was too late though as Kisame received a punch. You could hear his jaw shattering. Naruto sent him into the forest. He crashed, creating a large trench. Standing, observing like the god that he so-called was, his arms calmly at his side. Naruto gazed over as he met the Rinnegan gaze looking down towards him. No fear was showing in each of them. However, Naruto turned his gaze immediately. Kisame found himself deep within the forest. His face felt like it was on fire. He looked over to see Samehata squirming. The blade was trying to puke. Not really, but that is the way it seems. Samehata was twisting and turning, bending before its body started to enlarge. Kisame tried to do something despite the pain that he was feeling. The thing imploded right in front of him, shocking the man. There was a reason why Naruto came himself. There was a reason to everything that he's done so far. Rina descended upon Naruto. She electrified the entire place. She sent so much energy down to her feet that she started to zip around like lightning. She surrounded Naruto in a box, creating a literal lightning field, trapping him on the inside. She then jumped out and had it consume him in the center. However, Naruto was finished with his hand sign, releasing a pressurized wind attack. It created a dome that's shrinking on itself, surrounding him, completely protecting him, with enough time to move outwards. Reina dodged Naruto's first blow. Smirking to herself, she seen it. His speed was something rather intriguing. He was naturally fast, but when he pushed off with so much force, it made it seem like he was teleporting. But she saw it now as she dodged the second one. It's over, she thought. Only for Naruto's fist to bury in her gut. Her eyes widened. But I saw it, she said. Chest punch, chin punch, before roundhouse kick to the face. Reina was sent launching away. And just like that, two Akatsuki members found themselves on the ground. Naruto straightened himself up as he brushed his armor off. The others gazing down towards him from where they were. Realizing that they were all going to be picked off if they came in small, they all descended upon Naruto to take him down as a group. Naruto sped through hand sign before plunging his hand into the earth. Wood style, he said. The next moment, the entire environment changed into a massive, colossal forest, obstructing many views. Even Jiraiya had to move to truly see what was going on. Every member landed on an individual branch, finding themselves in a deep, luscious forest. A bloodthirsty feeling could be felt, courtesy of Kisame. Exploding out of the small forest, racing towards Naruto. No one has been by his side like Samehata, and to watch his blade die without explanation, without reason, send him into a rage. His chakra surged. Kisame released a violent blast that ripped through several of the trees, pressurized water as he saw Naruto with his back turned. Kisame launched himself. Naruto turned, but it was too late. Kisame's fist buried in his stomach before twisting and delivering a super combo that shattered Naruto's spine, sending him crashing through his own branches. Blazing through hand sign, Kisame created several massive sharks. They rained down and ripped through everything, including Naruto's body. Kisame landed down, the fury in his eyes not diminishing in the slightest. Stepping towards the dying Naruto. "What did you do to Samehata?" he said. Naruto spat out blood before he looked at the man. His words that were spoken next sent a chill down Kisame's spine. Because they did not come from the Naruto on the ground. They came from the Naruto behind him. Rage can be such a blinding tool, can't it? Kisame's mouth exploded with blood. His lungs were filled by 3 blows that were so powerful he felt like he was going to die. He found himself ensnared within several branches, trying to catch his breath as he keeled over and spat out more blood. Looking up though, all he was met with was Naruto's boot that slammed his head down into the ground. Each of the members were going up against a wood clone courtesy of Naruto creation. Thus they found themselves already fighting the so-called original, which was of course not truthful. Many explosions were taking place, courtesy of Deidara. Kisame struggled to raise his head, but Naruto slammed it deeper into the ground. You think it would be hard for me to figure out the inner workings of your blade that absorbed chakra? I simply gave it something that it couldn't absorb. Samehata was a sentient sword with its own chakra system, and the blade wasn't as potent or as more focal like a human. So Naruto simply used his eyes that has been activated the entire time. Naruto literally ruptured the insides by bending the space inside of it. Each blow that he struck it, he sent a pulse of chakra to feed it, allowing it to eat off his source, fooling it into a false sense of everything was alright, along with its wielder. Kisame had nothing to outclass Naruto, not strength, not speed, nothing at all, and now without Samehata, Naruto picked him up off the ground before kicking him so hard that he burst through several other branches, making his way. You are the last couple of threats that plague this world that I must destroy, Naruto said. He might have feeling bad for the past and the recent activities, but these threats, they were a problem to his friends and family's security. Therefore, annihilation is the only word. Naruto blazed through hand sign as Kisame tried to summon up a volley of water. Fire style. Majestic destroyer flame. Water and flame clash. Kisame tried to spew as much, but the problem was, this flame was no ordinary flame. With Naruto's hands, the flame became a S-rank technique. Thus, it swallowed Kisame and his attack. He released a violent guttural scream until there was nothing left to scream. And just like that, a so-called S-rank ninja had been put down by the hands of Naruto Uchiha. Naruto stepped past the burned remains as he leaped into the trees, going after the others. Meanwhile, Jiraiya had to get closer in order to see what was truly going on. Over to the other side, the summoning path of pain summoned several creatures that made their way into the foliage, so they would be able to better see what was taking place on the inside. A vicious battle, close combat between Hidan and Kakazu versus Naruto, weaving under the blade as he flipped. His blows were not doing that much damage to Kakazu due to his skin being hardened. Hidan tried to grab for Naruto as a massive lightning surge came from none other than Kakazu's puppet that hit the both of them. Naruto flipped away, a few scratches on his armor. He wasn't that bad off though. Just from interacting with them for a few seconds, he was able to understand what was taking place here. His first target was Hidan. However, Reina came out of nowhere. She attacked Naruto with a volley of punches, but he evaded all of them as he went behind her. Hidan swung aside as Naruto leaped, stepping on the left side. His kick slammed into the side of Hidan's head. He jumped over him and landed with his blade in his hand. Hidon's head fell over, right off his shoulders, his body collapsing as well. Naruto jumped away as Reina destroyed the entire place. The others moving towards the scene, realizing that they were fighting nothing but clones, wooden clones, already dispatching them. They found themselves making their way towards the original, and just like that, Naruto was surrounded on all sides. They combined their abilities into one, creating a massive explosion that eviscerated a part of the forest that Naruto created. However, all they were successful in doing was wiping away Kakuzu completely. Naruto was able to bend the space around the blast and pulling Kakuzu straight towards it by trapping him within the fluctuation space, as his body was reduced to nothing but rubbles and dust. Reina exploded with power, removing her limiters as she descended upon Naruto, each of her blows like a thunder strike, ripping through the entire place. Coating his hands in chakra, Naruto made contact with her. Her strength was great but also his. He released a massive fireball that she spun right through. She aimed for his throat as their hands locked together when he stopped her, allowing Deidara to surround Naruto with all sorts of creatures. Deidara was confused as he saw that they were being destroyed, so he sent more down there. He brought his hand up as Reina jumped away. Guts! A massive explosion swallowing Naruto, only for him to be alerted by Sasori, who had been shouting at him. He was confused why, until he realized that Naruto had been the one to jump back. Wait, that means Reina dropped to one knee. Deidara was confused, not quite understanding what just happened. He was sure that he got the original. When was he placed under a goddamn genjutsu? The puppet of the third Kazekage descended upon Naruto, courtesy of Sasori. Meanwhile, Jiraiya finally found himself getting closer as he arrived to see the burned remains of one of the members. But that was not all. It seems like he didn't need your help after all, Ma said, as both toads were situated on the Sanin's shoulder. Making his way further in, Jiraiya saw another destroyed corpse. However, there was barely any remains. Then he came across a headless individual on the ground that was squashed under many trees, but somehow still talking, trying to bite its way out of where it was. Another violent surge of chakra as he felt it, courtesy of Naruto. He saw the top half of Naruto's Susanoo. It brought down a blade that shook the entire place. Due to his sage mode, Jiraiya felt something as he noticed something watching, a strange creature. He noticed a creature eye. What the hell? He remembered that eye from his past. Another? Or could it? No. He was told that they died. There is no way. Jiraiya made his way in the opposite direction as the fighting was still taking place. Finally arriving, the Sanin noticed someone, but the person also noticed him as well. The shocked look on Jiraiya's face as he couldn't believe it. Gazing towards none other than Yaiko, he said. The man gazed down towards him. His face was set in an unreadable expression. The Sanin stepped further. I thought you all died. Why are you here? Why are you wearing that? He said. The answers were already there, but he was trying his best to prove that he was wrong to himself. Unfortunately though, as he gazed up towards the man that showed him no sign of friendly interaction. You're not needed here, Sensei. It's best if you leave this place, or you will die just like him. What happened to you kids? Why do you have Nagato eyes? What is going on? He shouted at him, wanted answers. However, it seemed to be too late as he slammed his hand together. What are you doing? Jiraiya could feel the surge of chakra. Meanwhile, within the tree, The other paths powered down. As Tendo was standing there, he eliminated all of them. Konan said with a shocked look on her face. The animals that were there poofed away, returning back to where they once were. He was not wasting any time. As the last member of the organization fall, that being none other than Sorcery, due to his puppet form, trying to escape Naruto more than once. Naruto had been slashed and cut several times. There was many poisons, but due to his very advanced healing, his body was already flushing that away. Stepping further into the chaos around him, Naruto knew that it was far from over, taking off at blinding speed, moving back from where they were, realizing that something big was going to happen, as they could all feel the tremendous buildup of chakra. Jiraiya jumped towards the so-called Yaito, believing that he was the same, trying to prevent him from what he was doing. However, with a simple pulse of the man's eyes, the Sannin was thrown. Luckily though, Paul extended his tongue and grabbed onto something, stopping Jiraiya from being thrown back too far away. However, he already released it. Naruto watches the entire place start to rip apart. The ground, the forest that he created, everything was being destroyed and pulled into the sky. He looked around as he saw the Sannin jump from broken piece of earth to broken piece of earth, as the area was lifted up as well. So Jiraiya was being sent into the sky. The massive spear. Nagato was showing no sign of slowing down, as he just watched the entire Akatsuki wiped out like it was nothing. This power was beyond what he had originally expected. That is why he was going in full force, trapping Naruto away and sending him towards the heavens forever. Unfortunately though, Jiraiya was caught up in it. However, he already warned the Sannin, not that he was here to play any favorites, despite the past. He made himself very clear. However, things became bad for them when Naruto opened his true eyes. The gravitational force that was happening suddenly came to a stop. As Naruto was in mid-air, his hand placed on the massive rock formation that took place already. But every other rock formation and every other trees and pieces of debris started to fall back. Nagato was perplexed, shocked, as Naruto stood there in mid-air, descending down like a true god. As his feet touched down on the ground, did you truly believe that I wouldn't be able to undo it? Your eyes might be powerful, but mine is stronger, Naruto said. The chance of your organization or you winning today was never a possibility. You are simply one of the last steps of me purging this world, Naruto said, stepping towards the man. Purging this world? You mean your activities that you've done to bring fear and chaos? You believe that is the right way, said Pain. And what exactly do you think is the right way, said Naruto? Building this organization, taking the tail pieces. What exactly will you use that power for? My goals is beyond your understanding. You and your people just look out for number one. However, that is your problem. And that will be your downfall. My downfall. Haven't you noticed? Your members are dead. Do you really think there's a chance that you can beat me solo? That was the difference between me and them. They were mere humans. I am a god. A god, huh? Not even I, with the power that I have at my disposal, believe myself to be a god. Seems you're more arrogant than I originally thought. So then, so-called god, how about you make me bow, Naruto said. Stepping forward, Tendo raised his hand. The fight had just begun after all. He still had enough chakra, and due to Naruto stopping his technique, he released a massive, almighty push right at Naruto. However, Naruto did not move, not even one bit. You could see the disturbance in the air and in the space. Naruto's eyes counteracting his, causing a massive fluctuation. Just like that, 5 others jumped and landed by his side. The 6 paths of pain, as they all stood menacingly to take Naruto down. They were interrupted by Jiraiya running towards them. "Enough! I told you not to interfere," said Naruto. With a mere look towards the man, Jiraiya found himself far, 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 far within the forest that they originated from. Jiraiya was confused. What the hell just happened? Naruto's ability had grown significantly because of the Red Rinnegan. Not only was he able to twist and bend space anymore, he could move it very, very far. He did not move Jiraiya, no. He moved the space around him that he was occupying and sent him away. Enough of his interference. The only thing that he was here to do was to kill them. Thus, Naruto ran straight head first into the threat of the so-called god. Nagato was a very powerful person, but his power was divided. The problem was, Naruto knew every single thing about the Rinnegan. His eyes being the cultivation of Nagato's Rinnegan and being much stronger, allowing him to stay one step ahead. Not to say that Nagato wasn't dangerous, but Naruto was dominating him. Aware that the paths all share a singular vision because none of them were truly the original. As the battle progressed, he tried to use everything at his disposal, using out majority of his chakra to take Naruto down, but it was becoming pointless. Jiraiya arrived back on the scene, trying to stop the fight, believing that he could perhaps reason with the past students that he once had. However, he could not get close when he saw Naruto created a massive underground forest that started to rip the entire place apart. 3 paths were taken down just like that, as it gripped them and ripped them to shreds. The almighty push was used to blow everything away, but a hand descended from the heaven and crushed it, courtesy of Naruto Susanoo, that stood above everything else. Jiraiya had to step back at the sheer awe and shock that he was witnessing. When the blade rose, space itself bent and twists over to the other side. They were distracted by the sheer power. Even the man hidden under the mask, so-called Toby, found himself speechless at the true power of Naruto Uchiha. Even after all of that, still having enough power to fight like that. It was truly and utterly frightening. And there was absolutely nothing that they could do at the moment to stop it. Standing there was none other than Fukaku. Every single time when he believed that he had won over Naruto, even during their battle, Naruto was simply toying with him as he stepped back looking at the power. Nagato used so much power as he tried his best. Konoha was screaming at him to stop as blood poured from his nose, his mouth, his eyes. His eyes were pulsating as he was trying to dig so deep. He was so blind in power and rage, feeling disappointed in his godhood, that they failed to notice. Konoha was the first one attacked. Due to the very specialized existence of Zetsu, it was hard to know where he truly were, due to his body blending into the environment. Due to his weakened state, Nagato could not fight back, as Zetsu consumed him, taking over his body. Knowing that all of them would die because none of them were strong enough, there was only one man that could stop Naruto Uchiha. His hand clamped together. As his power surged, Nagato tried to fight it, but using so much power, as Naruto eviscerated Tendo the last pain. Realizing that something was wrong as his body seemed to seize up at the last moment, but it was already done. But it wasn't just his power. His Rinnegan were ripped out of his socket by Zetsu, who sank into the ground. Jiraiya, who had backed away enough, was able to find where the true mastermind were. However, when he arrived, he saw Konan on the ground bleeding badly. Her guard was down, afraid of losing her friend. There was a wooden stake that was through her stomach. Black Zetsu and White Zetsu combining together, taking her off guard and taking her down. One of them was close to her heart. She was stabbed at least 3 times. Unable to properly disassemble her body in time, Jiraiya checked her pulse. She was still alive. As Naruto arrived towards the area, he's used a lot of chakra so far in the battle, taking down the entire Akatsuki and taking down this man that proclaimed himself to be a god. While Naruto does have a lot of chakra, he can't keep going on like this. He was constantly healing himself from all wounds, making him seem indestructible, but that wasn't the case. Naruto made his way as he saw the Sannin, having returned back to the scene. And now Jiraiya was asking Naruto to heal her, not possessing the special qualities to do so himself. Naruto looked towards the man like he was crazy. "She's the enemy," said Naruto. His word was brief and swift. He wasn't planning on healing her one bit. However, Jiraiya started to plead with the man. Something was wrong. He knew them, as he was shocked to see the state that Nagato was in. However, Naruto was not the one to do this. Someone else did this. And the Rinnegan, they were gone. For information purposes, Naruto placed his hand out as he started to heal the girl, mend her wounds that she was going to surely die from. Naruto could heal people rather easily, himself as well, without even weaving a hand sign, just like the first Hokage, maybe even twice as strong as him. When it came to his healing ability, Konan blinked as she started to regain consciousness, jumping to her feet as she staggered, only for Jiraiya to caught her. When she saw Naruto, she tried to fight him, but the Sannin gripped her in his arms, stopping her, trying to explain to her that it was over. When she looked over, she saw the barely holding on Nagato. It was a shocker that he wasn't dead yet. Naruto walked over and placed his hand on the man. Before he could, "No! Don't you hurt him!" Konan shouted. But Naruto did not intend to do so. The man was already going to die. He just wanted to feel something. He was right. He turned his gaze away. He's going to die. But that wasn't what he was checking out. After all of this, could it be the final endgame that he set up? Is this the way that he was going to reclaim the earth? To take it, to fix it, as he said, to place it in an everlasting dream. The dream that Naruto had mocked and laughed at, calling it stupid and idiotic. Calming down as she tried to spend the last moments with the only other person in her life that she cared about. As she watched him take his final breaths, he apologized to her for not winning, for not seeing the betrayal coming. It was Zetsu, the dark creature, half black and half white. He was the one that stabbed her. Her guard was down. All of her gaze was focused towards her friend. And she wouldn't expect her attack to come from Zetsu. As she checked herself, he missed her heart by an inch. If he hadn't, she would have been dead now. Perhaps that was okay though. What's the point? She lost Nagato, there is no more. Naruto's gaze was fixated on the outside, not even paying attention to Konan. The girl wasn't a threat. He made his way and sat down as he folded his legs. "What are you doing?" Jiraiya said. "Getting ready," said Naruto. As he started to calm himself, taking deep breaths, Naruto knew exactly what was coming. Over to the other side, Both of them were silent. The entire area had been destroyed, completely decimated. As Toby and Fukaku stood there was only one thought running through their mind. They lack the necessary power to defeat him. However, Zetsu had not traveled far away due to the many underground systems that he had used during his life to get over the elemental nation. After being informed about what was currently going on, by Zetsu sharing the memories with him, by simply attaching himself to him for a moment. When he arrived in style, crashing down like the heavens had opened up and something had dropped from them. There he stood, in the distance. You could feel his power, you could feel his strength. Naruto's eyes snapped open as he rose to his feet. Konoha and Jiraiya wondering what the hell was going on. They found themselves feeling the same sensation as Naruto rose to his feet, making his way without a word. Off into the distance, both men were also walking towards the source. His arms folded as he stood on a high platform gazing down at everything below him. Dressed in his battle armor, his weapon secured on his back, courtesy of Zetsu. He waited there, knowing that they would come to him. And they did come. Toby was shocked, as he couldn't believe what he was looking at. How? That was the first thought that went through his mind. Fukaku was shocked, as he gazed at the legendary Madara Uchiha. Walking up towards the scene, paying the other two little attention was Naruto. Jiraiya and Konoha staying back. Madara descended from where he was, landing a few feet away from Naruto. So this was your plan all along. You know me more than well enough to know that I had several plans in the work. This one just found its way at the top, Madara said, stepping further towards Naruto. I've already been rather informed about what you've been doing. You did what I said and you grasped the world by the entire throat, keeping them at bay. However, it is now time for you to stand down. It is time that I reclaim the position that I once had and make good on my promise that I told you all those years ago and fix this world. You mean your stupid ideology, your so-called dream? Naruto scoffed. It seems you're still as delusional as you were, and yet I thought it was because of your old age. Madara actually chuckled at Naruto's remark. Seems you've gotten quite strong and cocky over the past couple of years. I suppose I should be proud of myself for making you reach this far. Well, I suppose you are a part of my making, said Naruto. After all, you had the power to ensure that I did not become this. But you wanted me to become this. But you slipped up. How so, said Madara. You shouldn't have let me become what I am now, said Naruto. Because this time, I will be the one that put an end to you, and there will be no coming back. Is that so, my grandson? Madara said. Fine then. Enough talk. I would like to see how much you've grown. Fine, said Naruto. The both of them said it at the same time. Let's dance. And just like that, going full force, Madara Uchiha and Naruto Uchiha went at it. Everyone had to move. The two primordial forces clashed, their blows tearing apart the environment. Punches and kicks, twist, dodge and jump, moving so fast that most could not see. They inhale and exhale flames that swallow literal environments. They burn and scorch the ground. They rearrange land platform. When they went through hand signs that were so similar as the ground erupted, trees emerged trying to swallow the other, canceling each other out. The both of them riding on top of dragons made from wood. They clashed in mid-air, causing shockwaves as their abilities rage on. Everyone was able to witness one of the greatest battles that the elemental nation would perhaps ever see. When the both of them released their Susanoo, a single blow had enough power to wipe away nations as they clashed, creating violent explosion in the air. Susanoo clashed against Susanoo, tearing and ripping environments apart. Everyone had to move. The only one that was viable to stay there was the masked man, able to withstand everything that was going on by simply allowing them to pass right through him. Both Naruto and Madara descended back down. Their armor was gone, both of them looking rather tired. However, Naruto seemed more out of it due to his previous battle that he still had not fully recovered from yet. And once again, Naruto had been healing himself from every single wound that he received, even from Madara as well. However, the ghost Uchiha was feeling it as well. But it was far from over as they rushed at one another once again. The both of them seemed to be enjoying the fight, showing everything that they were capable of because they knew that this fight was going to end with their death. Maybe one or maybe two. They did not quite sure. As they clashed again, the masked man found himself standing there, truly shocked by the power that some people were blessed with. However, this was perfect. They were both going to exhaust one another. He had to slip within his dimension as Naruto breathed a massive, a colossal flame that swallowed everything for miles. The fact that he still had enough chakra to do this was astonishing. The masked man landed down in his dimension. Can't believe that he was still able to produce such things. However, the next moment he was grabbed by multiple vines wrapping around him. He was confused until he turned to gaze into those red eyes. He tried to move, but Naruto held his hand out, and the space around him tightened and bind him. Not only did it bind his ability, from the first time Naruto kicked right through him, the second time Naruto was able to hurt him, it was simple. He was able to slip through dimensions by opening up space in rifts. However, Naruto controlled space completely. All Naruto needed was the perfect distraction for him to slip in his dimension, and Naruto would never allow him to leave ever again. This is impossible. You can't. Naruto ripped the mask off his face as he gazed at the individual. So I was correct, he said. Obito Uchiha. Naruto flashed back to that time when he couldn't sleep. When he found himself heading around and he saw someone at the cemetery. The person had distorted space and vanished, and he had saw the grave. He was sure that it wasn't the fourth Hokage, and it wasn't the copy ninja. So it had to be one person. And now it made sense. Everything did. I won't allow you to disgrace the name that others still have for you. The standards that they've put for you fighting and dying in the war. As a citizen of Konoha, as a Uchiha, Naruto said to him. Moments later outside, Madara watched as space ripped open in front of him. Naruto stepped out as he threw the mask to the ground. Where were we? Said Naruto. Madara looked at the mask once before disregarding that as he returned back to fighting his own. Their blows still as deadly despite their chakra lower than before. They vigorously clashed with one another, wiping away everything around them. Madara summoned his Susanoo once again. This time there was massive mega tamas that he threw. 9 of them in total right towards Naruto, each of them with enough power to wipe away a small village. The mere power that these two have were baffling. Naruto summoned his own, When he pulled the blade into the sky, space twist and bend. Naruto cut through every single space between them and himself. Madara's eyes went wide as he tried to repel the space around him, but it squeezed and gripped him so much, blood started to pour from his mouth. Naruto left his Susanoo and ran, jumping through and delivering a brutal punch that dropped the legendary Uchiha. Naruto was in control of the battle now. He proceeded to beat the Uchiha until his fists were swollen. Madara staggered back as Naruto held his hand out. "Hey Minato," he said, "I'm gonna borrow this." A Rasengan formed in his hand as Madara gazed towards Naruto trying to recover, trying to swing his hand, but Naruto gripped it, holding his wrist as he plunged the Rasengan deep within Madara's chest, no longer protected by his armor as he was thrown. He crashed on the ground hard. Naruto stopped, almost falling to the ground as he got back up. He made his way towards the man and collapsed down at his side. Madara here was spasming all over the place. He was just lying there as he proceeded to cough up blood. His chest had been torn open. The Rasengan had torn at his heart, courtesy of Naruto allowing the technique to spiral inside even after ripping through him. As powerful as his healing ability was, he couldn't recover from this. His body was already dead tired from the battle, using up so much power. The two have been fighting for no less than 30 minutes. Then again, their power was so great that they could destroy nations in less than 5. Madara chuckled, but all it brought him was pain as he coughed up blood. "If you would have joined our side, we would have been unstoppable. However, I can see that I failed," he said. "I never thought that I would fall. However, to fall at the hands of my own, one that I actually respect, I suppose it's not that bad." "Don't you worry," said Naruto. "I'll be coming along with you very soon." "What?" the Uchiha said on the ground. Naruto looked down towards the man. "It's time for you to rest. No more coming back. The older generation like us should finally disappear with a win, allowing the younger generation to be and find out who they are." Madara coughed up more blood on the ground, the strain on his remaining heart finally becoming too much. He died. Just as a legend was born, he died. Naruto was tired. Running towards Naruto was none other than Fukaku. Naruto blocked his first strike, but the kunai stabbed deep within his side as he stepped back. The other two were too far. Fukaku had not thread that far away because he wanted to be the one to kill Naruto. Naruto's side was leaking blood, unable to heal himself. He spat blood from his mouth as well. "So this is it. This is where you finally get your revenge. After all I've already done," said Naruto. "I always knew that you were a coward, waiting until I wasn't able to properly defend myself." "You worthless piece of garbage," said Naruto. "That is why I took everything away from you." Fukaku lost his crap in those final moments. He rushed at Naruto. "Die," he said. Despite not possessing the flame control, he surrounded his hand with black flames. He dodged Naruto's blow and drive his hand within Naruto's chest as the both of them leaned there together. Fukaku spat up blood. "No," he said. "Come on now," said Naruto. "We both know that you have nothing left to live for. Neither do I. So let us die together. As much as we hate one another, everyone should have someone there for them. Don't you think so?" Naruto's hand, with the last remaining chakra that he possessed, Naruto bent the space around his hand. He bent the space through the space around Fukaku's heart, allowing him to literally open a pocket space to shove his hand through. Once again, with that small amount of chakra, he could not even properly form the Rasengan. The Rasengan caused less chakra to use than any of his other techniques. Naruto simply allowed it to destabilize. It ripped his hand apart, and the space ripped his hand apart as well because he couldn't properly contain it, leaving him with only one arm. However, Fukaku's insides were destroyed. As both men stood there, Naruto was going to die anyways from the wound or from the chakra that he doesn't have anymore. He used up every drop of it in that moment to take Fukaku down with him. Even death you couldn't let me have, said Fukaku. I've hated you since that day, that you humiliate me. I was older, I was supposed to be stronger. I was supposed to be the next leader of the clan, but yet, you were born with a talent that was simply much, much greater than mine. Something I could not best, something I could not overcome. And I hated you, I was jealous. I wanted to take everything away from you. And that is where my hate stemmed from. Despite being a Uchiha like myself. But then you took her away. That child, he was yours. Yes, you're right about that. But just like you've hated me from that time, the moment I lay eyes on Mikato, I loved her. I loved her with everything I had. She broke my heart, trying to protect me, but it still ripped me apart. But even then, I still loved her. That night, Itachi being born was us saying goodbye, knowing that we have to settle with the life that we had. It was just the fate that was dealt. I'm not trying to apologize to you because there is no apologizing for what I did. You despise me and that would never change. However, I went with my heart and I took what you believe was yours away from you, but she was never yours. She was mine. But it's over now. What's the point of dying with regrets? I am fully aware of where I'm going. Are you? Naruto said, pushing back. Both men collapsing. Arriving on the scene was Jiraiya, but by the time that he got there was nothing. Looking down towards the lifeless corpse of Naruto, he was gone. Time skip. Itachi was silent. Tsunade was silent. Shizune was silent. Mito was silent. As they were all greeted by the corpse of Naruto, Jiraiya stood there, being the one to retell the story of everything that took place, about everything that happened. However, as everyone, all of those that Naruto found deep connection with arrived in the room, something happened. It was Jiraiya, his body spasmed. They turned their gaze towards him when his eyes became empty, lifeless, like he wasn't in control. What's wrong with you? Tsunade said. I'm sorry, Jiraiya said. They looked towards him confused. However, as he looked at them, Itachi said something that confused the others. Father? They were confused by that statement. Flashback. As Naruto got up to go and face Madara, he turned towards Jiraiya. Konoha saw it, but Jiraiya did not because he blacked out for a moment. What did you do? Konoha said. Just leaving behind a last message, said Naruto. When he walked off, Jiraiya returned back to normal like nothing happened. An imprint of Naruto, last message, was placed in a Sannin to give to all of them. He just wanted to say that he was sorry. That he wasn't going to be there anymore. However, he had to truly let them know how he felt. The things that he's done. The person that he became. The secrets that were there. Would die with him though. Certain secrets about, well, the Uchiha. To keep them stable, to keep them whole. As he spoke, Jiraiya was not in control of his own words. He just wanted to apologize for not being there to watch them grow. But he had faith in each and every one of them. Despite the changes causing him great pain, the changes also made him love and care. And he loved and cared about every single one of them. But he's done what was needed for him in this world. Perhaps a part of him truly died that day when Mikoto died. And that was just something that he couldn't get over. And after what he did once again to solidate power, to show the world that it doesn't matter who or what, someone will always fight the darkness. By the time Jiraiya finally was able to snap his mind back into play, Mito was crying. Sasuke had tears in his eyes. Tsunade was crying as well, so did Shizune. There was a lot of tears going around. Sasuke cried without much sound, crying for his father's passing. Jiraiya was confused, heavily so, not understanding what was going on, until he was told. The news spread quickly when it was finally revealed about the death of Naruto Uchiha, the man that held the world for years. Strangely enough, no one did anything. You would expect those to rush to the violent tendencies to attack. But no one made a move. Something did happen though. Zetsu was demolished by a team that was led by Itachi. The final problem was destroyed. Naruto had placed his message inside of Jiraiya to find the creature and kill it. It was the last thing that got away, as he wasn't able to kill Zetsu. And Zetsu was found with the help of Konan. Konan was a different matter as well. Jiraiya started to pay trips to the village, to speak to her about everything, to ensure that she was doing okay. She lost a lot. However, the Hidden Rain still needed her, and Konoha was willing to help, gaining a new ally in the process as well. So yes, it did not take too long for Itachi to step up. His name was Sasuke Uchiha now. Step up and become the leader that his father knew that he could be. They might still be young, but his father believed in the younger generation and know that they would all be protected. Know that they would all watch over each other. The other nations did not make a move. None of them wanted to. The simple action that Naruto took prevented any future skirmish from the Hidden Stone at all. As for Kumo, the Raikage respect for Naruto was something that would not change. The new Mizukage was someone that was a very wonderful person. And the Kazekage, the future Kazekage, was to be thankful of the one that saved him. So yes, despite their mind not united together, despite their villages not being truly bonded, there was peace. And the younger generation was there to step up. There was still a long road ahead with beings from other planets to come and take over, but that wasn't the story of Naruto, the bastard, anymore. That was a different story for the future generation. Meanwhile, when Naruto opened his eyes, he expected to be burning and being criticized for the souls and life that he took. But he found himself in a meadow. He remembered this place rather well. It looked just like the place where him and Mikoto used to sneak away to spend time together. But why would he be here? It took you long enough. Naruto blinked as he heard that voice, turning his gaze as he saw Mikoto standing there. Naruto was confused. Given all that he's done, everything, this must be an illusion. She walked up and kissed him. Do you think that is fake? She said. But I've done so. Regrets. Sympathy for the people that he's slaughtered. He never expected to be here with her. She was such a kind, wonderful individual. None of that matters now. You did what you did to protect the ones that you love. You might have been lost in the darkness for some time, but you're finally in the light with me, she said. I'm sorry that I wasn't strong enough to tell you the truth back then. I'm sorry that it took us till death to truly be here with one another. Naruto kissed her this time. None of that matters anymore, he said. I've loved you from the day I've met you, and not even death would change that. As she wrapped her arms around him. He got it. He's happily ever after. As wicked and as evil as most people saw him, what he did was for the ones that he loved. And it seems like in his self-actualizing, he knew that he was righteous all along. He might have been lost. Yes, he was lost, without emotion, without purpose. But in these final years, he returned. He came back. And here he stood with the one that he loved. The one that he will always love. And nothing will change that. To the world, Naruto Uchiha might be dead, but his legacy will forever live on. And yeah, guys, this is where this come to an end. I know that it's not that long, but I just want to thank you guys for sticking through. It's been an amazing ride. I just want to thank each and every one of you for that. The likes, the subscribes, everything, guys. It's been a blessing. However, it's me, the watcher, not actually Anime King. And yeah, let's get back to it, shall we? What the hell? Everything is gone. Reality itself had ceased to exist. They were in a plane of nothing and emptiness. Wait, the only one that was standing was Mage Naruto. What happened to Anime King? I'll have to check. As I made my way closer, I was shocked to see that Anime King was nowhere to be seen. He's gone. That last attack that destroyed reality, it seemed to have completely eviscerated him. Wait, does this mean Mage Naruto has won? What does this mean for the channels? Are they going to be destroyed? Is he going to follow through with his threat? He's coming. Hi there. You're the watcher, aren't you? Yes. As you can see, I have nothing to do with any of this, so there's no reason to annihilate me. Don't worry, I won't kill you, watcher. But I do want to say something to the audience. I've won. Anime King is dead, so things are about to change. Huh. What's that? Mage Naruto turned his gaze. What the hell are you talking about? Don't you hear it? That intro. That song. Mage Naruto turned around frustratedly. What? What the hell is going on? What's that light? Well, guys, it seems perhaps Anime King is not that destroyed. Perhaps he's coming back, even stronger than ever. Perhaps all the obligations, everything that was tied to him is finally finished, and his channels are about to explode with a lot of what ifs on a lot of frequent timing, even more. Because this Anime King seems new, stronger, better, faster. Mage Naruto lost his shit, refusing to believe that someone could escape his reality, destroying technique. However, he's back. But guys, I'm gonna be ending it here. I guess I'll see you next time at the end of another to find out just how the battle progresses. But Anime King is back and he's stronger. So we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, that series was amazing if I must say so myself. Anime King truly has a lot of talents. Then again, he's been busy lately, but it seems like all of that is about to change. So just sit back, relax, and expect a lot more coming your way. Peace guys!